Samara Renee, and I'm coming to you today, and I'm starting a new series which is going to be all about how I'm rebuilding my life and all the lessons that I'm learning in my 40s. So each week I'm going to give you an update on all of the lessons that I'm learning along the way, and honestly, I am the best example of really trying to figure it out as you go, because nobody writes a playbook on like growing in your 40s. And especially like now as a millennial, like the 40s looks different. Like before it was like, you know, most people were married and they had kids. Now, more of the millennial generation, we are not following that same path. We are doing something great. We're going to be focusing all on that. And one of the lessons that I'm going to talk about this week is really coming into myself again. And what that means is getting back in touch with the person that I neglected for like most of last year, which is that adventurous side of myself, the kind of like wild child, nature, freedom girl that I neglected because I was putting all of that energy into someone else. And that was a huge mistake that I made along the way. And one of the things that I'm learning about that freedom, which is about like letting go of a dream that is just not working out right now and putting that away. So I spent a lot of time feeling like time is cutting short because I was in my 40s. I'm like, I know that I need like to have kids because biologically, like the chances of having a kid at my age is going down by the day. And I was feeling a lot of that pressure, and I got into a relationship, and I did not listen to all of the inner workings of my body and listen to and see all the signs in the past relationship that I saw from like the first date on into the relationship, and the trouble with communicating and behaviors and all that sort of thing. And I'll be the first one to say that I am not perfect. I ignored a really easy sign, and I've seen it across like my relationships, which is that I haven't felt safe enough to share my whole self with someone. And I mean, that goes back to one of the longest relationships that I had all the way up into this past one, that I never really felt like I could be seen without like my hair and without my makeup on and all of that sort of thing. Really just seeing me, family will see me, which is as unglamorous, as untogether as possible. That I never allowed myself to be fully seen that way. And for me, that was a true sign that I told myself that I wanted to be with someone that I could fully be myself with, that I could fully be seen down to the very barefaced essence and natural sense of who I am. And that means being emotionally raw and vulnerable and being able to say what's on my mind and not have somebody tell me that they don't want to hear what I have to say or they don't care what I have to say. And I really wanted to have a partnership where I felt like I could talk to someone about anything, and that we could talk about our problems together, and that our lives were focused on being a true partnership. And when you ignore those things that are truly within your soul that you've been looking for, like that messes up everything. Once I finally just said it out loud to myself, I don't want to date anybody anymore. Like I'm done with it. Like I'm literally so over it. Like I'm gonna cut that out of my life, give up that dream of getting married and being a mom with someone, with a partner, and having to give that up. And that has been really, really difficult. But I was reading a book last night with Mother Teresa. It's a book of all of her writings. And she was talking about her spiritual darkness that she went through for like well over 50 years, where she was doing all this amazing work to help the needy and the poorest of the poor in India. And she did not feel God's presence in her heart and in her soul through that whole time. So basically, she was kind of like walking blind in life. If God wants me here, then he's going to speak through other people. Somehow I'm going to be guided through my prayer life. When I was reading that, I was like, you know what? That feels very similar to me in a way that I feel like maybe I have been running from what I should have been living before. So I remember talking to my priest about this, and of course the many times that I had to talk to him about like my failed relationships and what I should do with my life. And we were talking about, he goes, okay, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to get married. And he was like, there's nothing wrong with being single, like just being a single person. And he goes, I just want to like throw that out there. He goes, because some people, like, they're just not meant to be in a relationship, but they can still do a lot of good in the world. And of course, like, when you're really have it set on your heart that you want to have family and want to have kids, like, you don't want to hear that. But it's almost like you hear these stories about like people who are religious and they are called to like the priesthood or becoming a nun or a monk or whatever, and they do everything in our life to try to run away from that. And I think that that's kind of where I'm at right now, where I hate the word surrender, but I think it's really giving up that dream and saying, okay, God, I hear you. You have showed me every single block that you have put in my life. Like, you've shown me that this part of my life isn't working, and I'm very unhappy with this area of my life. And it has been consistent, painful, and just not serving me well. Leave that up and said that out loud. Instead of just saying it in my head, I said, I actually felt better. I only woke up and I was like, you know what? I actually feel a little bit more peaceful. And I remember waking up after the day after me and my previous partner broke it off. I remember I woke up the next morning and I said, you know what? I actually am glad that I don't have to respond to someone's text messages or deal with their, poor behavior and be fearful about, saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing and not being heard. And I was just like, you know what? I don't have to put up with that anymore. And I'm good with that. And being okay with that, being myself fully within myself. I think that's why I don't really feel horrible about being alone. And I really spend a lot of my time alone, which could be like good and bad, but I feel really good about it because I love myself with just me. And I like seeing myself. I like my reflection of myself with just me. When I'm around other people, that's where it gets messy, how people see me versus how I see myself. This lesson that I'm learning is just, number one, just always listen to that deep question in your heart when you're looking at your life over several years and you are finding yourself in desperation and trying to force things. And when you look at your life and you see that it's not working, that's when it's time to come to a full stop. And that's what I'm realizing, is that now is the time to come to a full stop and completely reevaluate my life and find purpose and happiness within myself. And I had 7 years where I didn't date, and I just had this freedom, and I spent a lot of time being upset about it. But right now, because it's self-imposed and I'm making the choice, and it's not out of the lack there of being someone to be in a relationship with, then I feel more ownership and power in that. And so I'm looking for ways and focusing on how I can build myself up and build my self-esteem back up to where it was before I got into this relationship. The ways that I'm going to be doing that is, I'm really going to challenge myself to push the envelope and get back into doing some adventurous things and going on solo camping trips and hiking and all that great stuff. And I feel like I need to go rock climb. I used to back in the day, and just really try some different things and get my life in order. So I'm going to be talking a lot about that. But right now it's about getting myself back in line with my true essence and the true me, and being okay with being a single woman in my 40s and living my life in joy and having a lot of peace and living life the way that I want to live it. So anyways, please let me know if you guys resonate with this cool moment that I'm having with just the freedom of being able to completely be myself and not worry about how somebody else feels about me, and rebuilding up my confidence again. Make sure you leave me a comment and let me know what is one lesson that you're learning in your 40s or 30s or wherever you are in life that you want to share with the community that I'm building here. I would love to hear that. And stay tuned to next week, because I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the lessons that I'm learning. Especially, I'll talk about finances at some point in my health and wellness. And probably I'll do health and wellness first, because I feel like I'm learning a lot of lessons with being on a GLP-1 and the psychological game that I've been playing with my weight and how that has affected my life. But anyways, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I post a video every Wednesday, so stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys in the next video.